Alright, I'm gonna do a little video here on my amp that I use live. I did one on the RP1000, which I use with this, but I only use it for the effects. And this is a little, it's not a demo, unfortunately. There's no way for me to record this using a mic, because there's no mic input on the RP1000. So I'm not going to be able to do a sound demo until I get that solved. But I can run down the amp for you and give you my opinion. I've had it for about a year. I love this amp. This amp is like the best amp I've ever had, and I've had Marshalls and Fenders, and even I've had a Stiletto Boogie, PVs. I mean, a ton of amps. And this amp right here is the best amp I ever had, and it's because you can get so many different tones with it. I mean, the tone is great, but you can get every sound that you want, any style of music. You can dial it in with this amp, and you're good to go. Alright, the amp basically, it's a 3-channel amp, and you got basically 3 modes in each channel. You also have, you know, your typical gain, master, presence, bass, mid, treble, and you have a few other features here on each channel. The mode, you have a tweed. This is on the clean channel. This is a channel 1 here. You have a clean setting, which gives you basically what it says. It's like a clean setting. You can get some chimey stuff out of it. You got a fat setting here, kind of boost the low end a little bit. And you have a tweed setting. It's in a different EQ type sound. Gives you a little more of that brown sound. You know, it's tough choosing between you know, what's the best sound, because it really depends on what sound you're going for, maybe what style of music you're playing. But you can get any sound you want out of this amp. And you have your EQ setting here. You can have it permanently on. You can have it permanently off, or you can have it on and control it through the foot switch, the EQFS. And then you can set it for 90 watts, 45 watts, and 10 watts. This is your input, obviously, to the amp. Channel 1, you have a normal and a bold. The bold, I like the bold. It gives it a little more bottom end, a little more punch. You know, like if you wanted a real clean sound, you would probably want to go to something like clean, maybe normal, and you can get a chimier type sound. But you know, you really got to play with it. I mean, it's the EQ settings on here are typical Boogie EQ settings. I mean, they work really well, and you can really change the tone dramatically with this EQ setting here. And then, of course, you have another EQ over here, which I'll get to in a minute. Channel 2 is considered your crunch channel. You have an edge, a crunch, and a Mark 1. I use the Mark 1. I mean, the crunch is really good too. That's actually, the crunch is probably more for your rhythm sound. You get a really nice rhythm sound out of here. The edge is, you know, maybe you want that more of a classic rock sound. You know, the edge works fine there. The Mark 1, I guess you would say that's kind of like more for leads, but you can get a nice rhythm sound out of it, which I have. And so I'm able to use this on the Mark 1 setting and use it for a lead channel if I need to, and a rhythm channel. EQ setting, same as the first channel. In fact, they're same for all 3 channels. You got your EQ, and then you can change your power, whatever you want there. Same exact setup as the other channel. The difference here is you have a Mark 1 normal mode, which is what I use it on, and the thick mode. Thick mode just basically thickens the sound up. You know, it depends on your guitar. You know, what kind of guitar you're using, single coil, humbucker, whatever you're using, you'll be able to get what you want. I use this with a Luke Music Man, and a Fender Telecaster. I mean, you talk about two different types of guitars. There you go, and I can I can get whatever sound I want out of this amp, and it sounds great. Okay, channel 3, the lead channel. I guess it's probably the channel most people love, right? You got your Mark II C+, the Mark IV, and Extreme modes on this. The Extreme mode, I'm not really, I don't use it. It's a little much for me. It's just not my style. But you know, if you want that over the edge type gain, it's there. I prefer the Mark IV sound. I just love that sound. It's great. And a C+ sound. I mean, there is no bad sound on this amp. It's just dial in what you want, and it gives you these options how to go about getting that sound, and that's basically what it's for. Same exact mode. Here you have your channel 3, you have your normal and a bright. I keep it on normal because most of the time I'm using the Luke guitar, the Music Man, and it's a humbucker. So it's, you know, it just sounds better. I mean, you would think the bright sound might, you know, brighten it up a little bit and make it sound better, but you know, it depends how you EQ it too. That's another thing. This is, to me, is just like another option for an EQ. You know, I mean, even though you got more than enough EQ on this amp to get the sound you want, this kind of just finish it off for you. You know, give you a little extra brightness, or take a little brightness, some of that top end off. Now the EQ setting here, this is really, you know, I got it set up, your typical Boogie EQ setup, I guess. Seems like everybody likes that sound. You also have a preset mode and a slider mode on your EQ here. Yeah, I mean, I use the slider mode for channel 2, and I use the preset modes for channel 1 and channel 3. The problem with the way this is set up here is that you're kind of stuck with one. Like, you can use slider mode for all of them, but you're kind of stuck for a certain type of sound, unless you use a pedal, or you EQ it from an effects or something like that. This is I mean, it's a great EQ. I just don't understand this setup, the slider preset setup. So I just use it. I set the slider to one channel. I keep it at that. And the other ones, I test them out, see if I like it. I test the preset. What you get is what you get. You have a knob over here where you can control the depth of the EQ setting. You know, and play around with that. Now, when you're trying to get sounds on this amp, I can tell you, it can drive you a little crazy because there's so many options. You can sit there for an hour, you know, trying to dial in a crunch sound that you like. And it seems like it'll never end because you're always finding something. You have to just step away from it for a while. You know, a couple of hours, come back and do it again, and keep. I don't know if you go tone deaf or something, but if you sit there and you keep tweaking and playing with this thing, after an hour, if you go longer than an hour, you're just dabbling because you're gonna end up changing it anyway. You just kind of got to step away from it. Come back and retweak it, and that's how I did it. And I found a tone that I can just plug in, I play, and I'm happy. And I guess that's really the ultimate goal. But yeah, you have to take your time with it, but all the sounds are there for you. Then you have your basic output. That's your master volume, you can call it. And then you have your solo. And this is controlled through your foot switch, so you can control like the level of your solo. A typical boost button. Of course, you got your standby. You're on full power, and you got your variac power. You can drop it down. That's which mainly I use, depending on where I'm playing. Now, if I was doing an outdoor gig, I'd probably go to full power. It just depends how much power you need. But I just like the tone a little better on the variac. Seem to push it a little better and it breaks up. I'm using a 212 cab here, the slant type cab. See, I got a little ding it already, but put it to work. So stuff like that happens. let me go to the back here. And run down some of the features here. You have your typical fuse. Here you have your channel select, and I keep it on foot switch because that's what I use. But you know, something happens to your foot switch, you could always change it manually, or if you forget the foot switch, which I actually did one time. You got your loop assign, same exact concept here. You could always keep it on channel 1, channel 2, channel 3. Foot switch is what I keep it on. External switching, channel 2, 3, EQ, and solo. You have different external switching for channel 2, 3, EQ, basically what it says. Then you have your effects loop here. You have your loop active. You can hard bypass the loop, which is nice. And it does make a difference, a big difference. Also, it changes the way your master volume and things like that work, but the tone, it does change it, but you know, unfortunately, you kind of need some effects when you're playing. You have your basic send return, and then your level, your effects level. Now, this is kind of interesting here. Channel 3, you have pentode and triode. So you have different modes you can use, and above that is your reverb. So you have a separate reverb control on each channel, which is really nice. This is the way I have mine set up, but different sounds here. You got your diodes on channel 2 and tube. More like diodes, more of a solid state type of sound. Then you have the same thing on channel 1. And the diodes has to be 45 watt only, as you can see right there. Moving down, this is your speaker extension cabs. You plug in your cabs. You got your 8 ohm combo, 4 ohms. And boy, my eyes are so bad I can hardly even read that, and I'm right in front of it. Down you have your tuner, and I actually use this. I have, well, I'm not even in focus here, I'm sorry. You know, the tuner, I use this, and I have the Boss chromatic tuner, and plug it in there, it works great. You know, of course you have a slave out, and you have your slave level. And you have your MIDI foot switch. You got your fan on, fan off, and EL34, which you can see I have it switched to because I have it switched to EL34s because I have EL34s in there. When like I said, I've had the amp for about a year, and about, I don't know, I guess about 3 months ago, 2 months ago, I decided to get the EL34s because I love EL34s. Most of the amps that I like are EL34s. Not that the 606 were bad at all. They were good. I liked them. They sounded great. I used them for 8 months. But I had to throw the EL34s in there, and I couldn't wait any longer. So I did, and yeah, I like the EL34s. It's exactly what I expected. Sorry, I got a little bit of a cold here, so kind of snotting and snorting a little bit. But that's about it. This amp, I can't say enough about these boogies, man. I just love these amps. You know, I know they're pricey, but you know, you get what you pay for, and it has a 5-year warranty it comes with. So for 5 years, you know, you don't have to worry about anything, and they're just built like tanks. And they're just, I mean, if you're sitting home and you're playing your guitar and you're in your bedroom and you're not playing out, then then you don't need a boogie. You really don't. You know, you can get something a lot cheaper, and you know, just to practice or play or whatever. But if you're actually gigging and you're playing gigs and you're working, you need something like this. You need something that's reliable, that you can count on. You know, I mean, that's important. That's you know, I don't know what price tag you put on that, but for me, it's a pretty big one, because I need to know when I go play a gig, when I plug my amp in, I'm not worrying about the effects loop going out or blowing a tube. You know, I take care of it. Now, that, not saying that that can't happen, because that can happen with any amp. But, you know, I just feel comfortable with a Boogie, because I've never had any problems with them. And I've had this amp for a year and haven't had any problems with them. And I don't expect to have a problem. But if I do have a backup amp, which is a JSX PV, which you can't even compare. They're two totally different types of amps. This amp just the tons, head and shoulders above the PV. I mean, the JSX is it's a gain monster, and we'll leave it at that. But this amp, this is the amp that I mean, if you're a giggy musician and you're playing a bunch of different styles of music, like I do, this is really the ultimate. It's like the Swiss Army knife of amps. I mean, you can pull out any sound you want on this amp, and you'll get a great tone. The speaker cab, I mean, it's a Boogie cab, man. It is what it is. It just sounds awesome. It sounds great. I don't know what else to say about it. I think that about covers everything. Alright, I'd like thank everybody for watching and checking out my videos. If you like them, please subscribe. And I will do a demo sound on this with my full live rig as soon as I'm able to record the amp. I'm just not going to plug in and play and record on the mic on the camera, because that's just that makes no sense. It's just not going to do it justice. And what's the point? Because what you're going to hear is not what it really sounds like. So until I can get a way of recording my cab, my actual amp, in a live situation here, which hopefully won't be too long, I'll put that video up. But this is just let you know what the amp is about. Alright, thanks for watching.